And good afternoon, classmates. I am Anthony Rusgal Villanueva, and I will be presenting to you or reporting to you personal policies and contracts. So we will start with policies. So the purpose of the personal policy is to set forth procedures for employees in the organizations. So when we talk about policy, ito po yung tinatawag na patakaran na dapat pinapairal sa isang organisasyon in the government and in the private organizations. So in the private organization po, magkakaiba po yung mga policies nila. In the government po, medyo similar po kasi it is guided by Civil Service Commission and other organizations uh, na involved po or may kinalaman po sa pagpapatupad ng policy in the bureaucracy po. So it is important for all employees to have an understanding of the organization in which they work, the policies and procedures applicable to them, and the benefits that they earn. That's why in the human resource development, yung mga new employees po ay binibigyan po ng seminar or workshop or orientation about the policy of the organization po in order for them to be knowledgeable about the policies and procedures existing in a particular organization po. So what are personnel policies? Personnel policies define the treatment, rights, obligations, and relations of people in an organization. So they are the blueprints by which the organization runs the rules and procedures that protect workers and the organization. So both po, ang pinoprotektahan po ng policies po ay workers and at the same time the organizations or the agencies from being abused, put them in control of their jobs, and keep them from making errors that will hurt the organization or one another. So it's very clear po. It's a blueprint po. The set of rules and procedures existing in a particular agency or organization. So what do personal policies include? Personal policies may differ significantly from organization to organization, especially in a private organizations. Kasi they are not covered by the Civil Service Commission po. Usually kasi yung mga policies din po natin ay naka-anchor din po sa Civil Service Commission in the government. They must contain instructions and rules for dealing with issues and overcoming obstacles that may present themselves both during normal working days and under extraordinary circumstances. So normal working days and under extraordinary circumstances. So for example na lang, during this time, the global health crisis po, may mga rules and policies po sa pagpasok kasi extraordinary po yung situation natin ngayon na pinapatupad or ini-implement po ng isang organization or ng isang agency po. They touch on relationships, staff, administration, etc., expectations, hours work, schedules, what defines the work of a position, and a ways of doing things, who gets to use what equipment, when, how to arrange a sick day, for example, that affects employees' lives and the running of the organization. So personal policies should be written in clear. So ibig sabihin, dapat naintindihan, it should be concise, it should be strict to the point, and can be easily understand by the employees po or workers po. So dapat walang mga language barrier po. Understandable language so that everyone knows exactly what they mean and as little as possible is left open to interpretation. In many organizations, employees are either given their own copy or are encouraged to read the policies in some easily available form. So usually the policies must be uh, must be given to the employees, dapat nakapost po sa bulletin natin na madaling makita po. Or yung mga division or office po ay dapat na bigyan po ng kopya ng mga policies, especially yung mga bagong policies po. So there are three types of personnel policies. Number one, the general policies. So what are those policies na napabilong po sa general classification or types? General policies have to do with the basic structure, philosophy, and roles of the organization. They deal with issues ranging from equal opportunity in hiring. So yun po, one, in hiring po, there must be given equal opportunity. In the government po, those vacant position must be posted in the bulletin po. And uh, everybody must be given the equal opportunity na mag-apply po, provided they comply with the learning competencies set forth or needed in a particular job. And advancement to conflicts of interest, sexual harassment, including discrimination, alcohol in the workplace, agreement policy. So usually in the government po, yung mga job orders po, may contract agreement policy. And in the organization po, in the private organization po, usually may contract din po sila and under probation din po sila bago sila mag-permanent. Political activities at work. So alam naman mo natin, mostly of us are working in the government na if you're working in the government, dapat hindi po tayo involved sa mga political activities po. Safety in the workplace. That's why ngayon lalong-lalo na ngayon po. So kung may mga cases po ng COVID po, usually inuuna po talaga dapat may policy po tayo on how to make the workplace safe and of course the workers po. That's why may mga temperature checking po tayo, may mga disinfection po tayo, provision of vitamins ng personal division, provision of PPE, provision of face shield, yun po. And update sa current status po ng cases within ng COVID cases within the area po. Grievance procedures, mga reklamo po, and of course, smoking po. So sa smoking po, although na may tinatawag po tayo na in the workplace na diversity in a workplace po, other organization or agency po may designated smoking area, yung iba naman wala kasi it's prohibited po talaga yung smoking in the government areas po or vicinity po. Then hiring and employment status. Policies involve the workers' employment relationship with organizations. So hiring po. And in the process of hiring, kailangan po na interview and may reference checking po. That is why in the government po, I'm quite familiar in the government because we're working in the government. We are following the ORA or Omnibus Rules of the Civil Service Commission on the process of hiring employees po na first, the vacant position must be posted in the bulletin for everybody to see and have the opportunity to apply. And then selection process to be done by the personal division, the same time with the end users. And after shortlisting, they will be interviewed by the personnel selection board of the particular agency, usually in the government, composed of the Undersecretary for Administration and Finance, Director of the Administrative Services, Division Chief of the Personal Division, and representative of the end user, and also representative of the Employees Association po. Accredited by the Civil Service Commission and Department of Labor and Employment po. And then after the interviewing and reference checking po, it will be subjected po yung mga napili po siyempre ano muna yun, i-approve muna or i-recommend muna sa appointing authority or yung president or kaya sa secretary. And after that, uh, 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 it will be verified by the Civil Service Commissions as regards their qualifications, competencies po, educational qualifications, their potentials, etc., etc. And after they will be after what we call this one, after verification of the Civil Service Commission, magkakaroon ng orientations as regards to the policies of the organization. And during the orientation, sinasabihan din sila that may 6 months probationary periods po sila na kailangan ipakita nila na karapat dapat silang uh, matanggap sa isang posisyon. Likewise, in the private sectors or non-government organizations, ganun din po. May interviewing din po sila, may verification of eligibility, orientation, at the same time, probationary period before maging permanent na po sila. And of course, the promotion po, yes po, ang promotion po usually in the government po usually is yung next in rank po. So kung may available na plantilla position for the next in rank, it will also undergo what we call hiring process, posting of vacant position, etc., etc. And then the worker or employee who is qualified for a particular positions ay susulatan po ng personal division that you are qualified to apply for this position. Yun po. Yun yung mga policies po. And everything in between. Still in the hiring and employment status, these policies also cover benefits such as friends benefits. So, kailangan may policies po na nagsasabi kung ano yung mga benefits mo, monetary benefits or friends benefits in the government. Sa orientation, sinasabi yun na you have the 13-month pay, you have the 14-month pay, you have the clothing allowance, you have the, what we call this one, sports allowance, you have the communication allowance. And for the friends benefits, you have 15 sick leave for a year and 15 vacation leave for a year, including 3 privilege leave in a year. And then meron pang mga ibang leave na considered na friends benefits sa mga single parents, etc., etc. Employment rights, yun po. And there must be also a policy on retirement plans. So, in the Human Resource Development Division has trainings and programs to those who are retirees for them to be prepared sa next phase in their life na retired na po sila. And same time, awards and recognitions for excellent performance. So binibigyan din po ng awards po. For example, in the Department of Agriculture, may tinatawag tayong Gawad Pitak. Also in the private sectors po, may mga awards and recognitions po sila. Usually, kung 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, then ganon, may mga award po. And also, in this particular type of personal policy, sinasama din po dito yung reasons for terminations. Ano yung mga violations, ano yung mga hindi ginagawa, and what are the grounds for termination na pwede kang matanggal sa trabaho po. And number 3, another type of personal policy is the everyday procedural policies. It deals with issues that affect the everyday life of the worker or volunteer and the day-to-day operation of the organization. They generally include the hours employees are required to be at work. Yun po. So in some agencies po, may tinatawag tayong sliding flexible time. You can go to work at 7 o'clock and pwede kang umuwi ng 4 o'clock. Or 8 o'clock, pwede kang umuwi ng 5 o'clock. And 9 o'clock, pwede kang umuwi ng 6 o'clock. This time, may mga policy din po sila na very flexible po na pwede kang pumasok ng 10 o'clock and then pwede ka nang umuwi ng, for example, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, something like that. In consideration with the current situation, the what we call this one, the global pandemic. Then, including how how workers should dress. Kaya nga in other organization, may tinatawag na clothing allowance para dun sa uniform nila, etc. etc. When they get paid, and issues of security, as well as guidelines for how things are done in the organization. So when we talk about contracts naman, according to Merriam-Webster po, a contract is a binding agreement between two or more persons or parties, especially one legally enforceable po. So on my own understanding po, ang contract po ay usually ginagamit po to sa mga ano po, for example, sa mga job orders, kung mga contractual po. So there must be an agreement between the company and the worker. Nakalagay po doon kung ano yung mga duties and functions ng worker, ano po yung mga benefits and friends benefits ng workers, and the same time yung kung kailan mati-terminate po or contract, yung prescription period, ibig sabihin kung from ilang months, 6 months ba, 1 year ba, or 2 years ba ang contract. And the same time, sorry, yung mga policy din po ng organization, and what are the things na expected sa iyo. So nakalagay po lahat-lahat 'yon na dapat nating sundin. Na kailangan pag nagtrabaho ka doon sa organization, within the bound ka lang ng contract. Kung anong sinasabi doon ng contract, yun ang dapat ang gagawin mo. At yun lang kung ano yung policy nilagay ng ano yung mga policies, rules and regulations na pinapatupad ng isang organization or agency, yung dapat susundin mo. So, including din sa contract, yung compensation is very important. So, what is the purpose of contract? The purpose of contract is to ensure that both you and your employer have a clear understanding of what is expected during the term of employment. So, as I was discussed a while ago, yun po. So, ano ang expectation sa'yo? What are your duties and functions? Ano yung mga rules and regulations na dapat mong masunod or sundin while you are employed in particular agency or organization. This document can also serve to eliminate any disputes which may arise at a later date. It also helps you to understand what your rights are under the law. Yun po. So, simple kasi, pag magkaroon ng violation of the contract, kung may ginawa ka na outside the contract at linabag mo kung anong ang napapaloob sa contract, you could be subject for the breach of contract. So, may ano ka po doon, may pananagutan po. Both you and your employer are bound to the employment contract until such time that it ends due to notice given or change in terms by either party po. So when should contract be used? A contract can be used when terms for part-time, fixed employment, or permanent full employment are needed. It can also be used when you've been hired by a human resource manager, recruitment officer, or an employer. So dito po nakalagay, a contract can be used when terms for part-time, yung mga contractual, part-time, fixed employment, or permanent full-time. Pwede rin pong may contract. I will give you a particular situation. In my case, I worked in Siena College, Quezon City for almost 10 years. So naging permanent po ako doon. But every year po, mayroon kaming contract even though permanent po ako doon. Para po, within the span of a year, may contract ka na hindi ka pwedeng umalis, hindi ka pwedeng mag-resign within the span of a year. Kailangan umalis ka ng after the school year. Yun po, yung fixed employment or permanent full-time na mayroon ding contract although you are a permanent. So policy versus contract. Policy is a guidance for the way organization operates. It is a course of action for a process of a procedure, while contract is a binding obligation, meaning if one party breaches, the other owes it damages. So the distinction between policies and contracts: not all policies are contracts, not all contracts are policies. Violating a contract may give rise to a lawsuit, but violating policies that not always lead to a lawsuit. So in summary, personal policies and contracts govern the ways in which staff members interact with an organization and with one another. They protect both workers, the contracts and policies protect both workers and the organization and set the tone for what it's like to be work or to work in a particular place. Classmates and Dean, that's end my report. Thank you po for the opportunity.